Hi, hello. This is Meltem Yilmaz. I am the lecturer for the Health and Safety and Safeguarding unit for today. I have an undergraduate degree in biology, education, and a master degree in environmental science in forestry and engineering. And I have an extensive experience in um, working in different departments in regional in the field of regional development, local development, and also pharmacy company in different parts. Hello, today we will start to study the
Hello.
unit. Hi, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Okay. So it's the risk and incident management topic.
Yeah.
We will understand the process and strategies for identifying hazards and evaluating risks in institutions and private sectors. So, and how to manage and report it also. So, today we will also identify and address, manage the risk and incidents in relation to the roles as health and safety practitioners. So when we are a practitioner in a company and or even in an institution, we need to be aware of different kind of keys, and we need to take action and consider all the attitudes of the employees, managers, and the leaders as well. So, of course, there are lots of different resources, but the main resources that we are using for identifying hazards and assess risks are from the World Health Organization, from the International Labour Organization, and the European Safety Agency and governmental agencies. So we try to understand the professional and trade bodies, and then we need to find out how the regulations and standardizations are taking place so that we reach a standard in our own business and in our own institution as well. Of course, there are also ISO reporting systems like risk management framework, risk control measures, risk assessment methodologies, and their limitations, types of health and safety incident techniques and methodologies to address the incidents, the stationary and regulatory requirements within the structure, and then to address the risks and the incidents and how to record all these issues all together. So there are key terminologies that we will also talk about. However, we need to go ahead with how we identify what is a hazard. So, in a workplace inspection, regularly physical inspections of the workplace, including all work areas, equipments, technological tools, and even processes, are really critical things that we need to inspect. Use of standardized checklists is an asset. So, tailored to specific work environments or industries to systematically identify the hazards, or even there is nothing, but there needs to be a systemic assessment at all. Incident and accident reports. So reporting is one of our issues as well. Analysis of incident reports, accident investigations, near miss reports, and other records of past incidents need to be done properly, regularly. Identification of trends of patterns in incidents to uncover underlying hazards, to understand what is going on. So, employee feedbacks is one of the most important records that we need to rely on, and involvement. encouraging employees to report hazard, taking participatory action, and near misses through reporting systems. So maybe they don't want to report directly, so we can put some suggestion box around so that they can write their notes and put their notes there. Without writing their names. Involving employees in hazard identification through safety committees, toolbox talks, or safety meetings. So we need to understand that we need to organize regularly safety meetings as well to reframe and represent all these health and safety issues, hazard as well. So regulatory and industry standards. There are standards that we need to implement inside the structure, within the structure. So familiarizing with appliance health and safety regulations, standards, codes of practices, and guidelines relevant to the organization's industry and jurisdiction. Staying updated about the know-how and knowledge that is regulatory changing and the industry best practices through government agencies. So we need to go ahead with what is going on around. So job safety analysis and task analysis as well. Conducting job safety analysis to break down tasks into individual steps and identify potential hazards associated with each step. Analyzing the specific tasks or processes is also another issue that we need to go ahead so that we can assess the risks and develop appropriate control measures and find out how to sort out these kind of issues.
Can I
Yes.
get an example, please, for job safety analysis?
Job safety analysis. So it is just let's go ahead. You mean here we have it. So it is. There needs to be regular tasks to analyze the job safety. It can be a industrial zone, it can be a fabric and with heavy industry machines. So there needs to be some health and safety regulations. So they need to be done every day maybe, or after every process there needs to be some reporting task sheets so that the workers and the managers need to obey on these tasks. Otherwise, when there is something wrong, maybe a machine is not working properly, or even there was an emergency, a leak in the electricity, that needs to be reported as app. So when there is a health and safety sheet, a reporting sheet, the worker will say, so there was an electric leak in that process at that time today at this time period, and the process stopped, such as. So then it needs to be reported as up, and then the engineers which are responsible from the machinery can come and check it, or even the insurance company will involve and participate, and then the check of the machinery needs to be done, because it is the health and safety, the employees who are working there, they are under the risk about hazard. Even there can be also a hazard happening, Ali. So then it needs to be reported as up, so that it needs to be sorted out. Why it has happened, what was before that, were there other issues, but they have not been reported properly, so that it came to a hazard and now the worker get injured. So there needs to be regular reporting methodologies that needs to be done by the health and safety and hazard staff. Any question?
No, I think it's fine, but I thought it was similar to the risk assessment.
Yeah, they are similar, of course, but it is, the task analysis is something it needs to be planned, and every task needs to be measured and assessed. That's the point. That's the point. Otherwise, even the performance is another thing that is analyzed. However, during the task performance, there needs to be an analysis in the hazards and health and safety reporting as well.
Ah,
So,
okay.
of course, workplace health and safety data is another thing. So, reviewing the data on workplace injuries, illnesses, absentees. Analyzing trends in health and safety data to identify areas of concern or emerging risks. Health and safety training and education. So the staff, even the management board and the staff, all they need to get to provide the trainings that are changing also something. So providing trainings to employee on hazard recognition, risk assessment, and control measures. It is changing. So the way of work, the way of process is changing. So therefore, there needs to be regular trainings and education as well. So for this training and education, the employees need to be encouraged because it is important to get this training. So increasing the awareness is another thing for getting a training. Consultation with experts. So seeking advice and consultation from internal and external health and safety professionals, engineers, or consultants to show the change and get another opinion, professional opinion. Engaging with specialists in specific areas of expertise, such as ergonomics, industrial hygiene, or fire safety. So there are lots of different attitudes that we need to think about. Technology and data analysis. Utilizing technology solutions such as sensors, monitoring systems, and data analytical to identify and assess risks in real time. So yes, the professionals, the employees can write the reports as always. However, if there happens something, it needs to be also observed by the recording, such as now we are doing recording. So this is because, yes, we are doing it. We are in and we are doing the presentation and talking. However, during the training, it can happen that something is going wrong. So it has not been reported. It can happen. So therefore, analysis to forecast potential hazards or risk based on historical data and trends is another thing. So the experts which are going through all this analysis can say that there might be an upcoming hazard, but it has not. But people are not aware at that department. So we need to sort it out and protect this department as well. It can be about fire or something like that. So of course, there are criteria in reporting. So it's likelihood, consequences, risk level. If the risk is high, medium, or low. So if it is likelihood, if it is rare or almost certain. There are standards that we can use in the reporting working knowledge. So
Can
when
you
we,
show us again, please? The table, okay, please.
yes,
So to begin with, just this table is for what exactly? I didn't get.
this table is for when we are preparing a worksheet, a reporting sheet, we can write them down and then put next to them a box to tick it. So it can be a daily report or an hourly report, or it might be a report after an assessment in the working area. So this can be written as the words, so such as is there a high risk of fire? High, medium, low, low. So the assessor will tick to low or the assessor will tick to high. So the reports need to be prepared in that logical frame.
So can you show me an example? Like, can you do an example of?
Now it's, I can send you an example. I will take a note and then I send you an example. Okay. So
Oh,
about how different kind of assessments report. Okay.
yes. 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 Teşekkürler.
Rica ederim. Oh, thank you. So as so it is, Ali, it is in summary. So the reports need to be well implemented, prepared. So therefore, the one who is preparing the reports needs to be aware about the safety management system, and also the person needs to be aware about the organizational structure. So it is two phases. Yes, the regulations needs to be there. Yes, and the other thing is the person who is dealing with the regulations assessment need to be aware about all the institution. If it is an institution, it can be a university, or it can be a small business, or it can be an industrial fabric, a textile fabric, such as, or it can be a pharmacy company and producing pharmacy. So it depends. So the one who is responsible as the hazard and health and safety staff or manager needs to be aware about all the process to put the system, the regulations on board in that structure. It is a structure. It can be a governmental institution. That's also the point. So the workforce needs to be protected at always. The first thing is, of course, human. So anything can be damaged or can go away with hazard. But the first thing is, of course, human being in the company, in the institution. So the team, the health and safety team, needs to be always aware about the developments and increase the safety performance as well. That's the point. So it can be a municipality, and they are working on a local borough in an area where it is, suddenly a flood happened. Enormous rains are falling, and suddenly all the city center is flooding. So all these are, even these are health and safety issues that we need to think about. We can think globally or locally. So it is the responsibility of the team which are dealing with health and safety. So of course there are sources of information to identify hazards and assess risks. So workplace inspection, so it's a regular check of workplace equipment, so processes, job safety analysis, breakdown tasks to identify hazards. So safety data sheets, so sheets that to review what is crucial. Is it making hazard? Is there something happening, or something like that? Especially here, it is reviewing for chemical hazards, which is a very dangerous part of production and sector. Incident reports. So learn from past incidents and near misses. So the past incidents reports are also crucial to keep them, put them on in dossier and keep them in the computer for a long period of time. So employee feedbacks, making analysis, encouraging reporting of hazards. So employees are one of the keys who can give reports that feedbacks. So not, we can say it as feedback, it's much more better, so that the hazard inspector can understand that what is happening on board. Consultation with experts. So it is to seek advice from safety professionals. It is really important. Regulatory compliance, ensure compliance with health and safety regulations. Observation and experience. Of course, experience is really an assessment of, it is a power. It's a power. So the one who is really experienced and needs how hazards can come up from a long period of time will also be there in the team. Would be better to be in the team and go ahead with the analysis and evolution. Benchmarking, compare against industry standards. Of course, different sectors means different industries. It can be timber, it can be mining industry, chemical industry, pharmacy industry, textile, what else? Machinery, metal, automotive. So any industry has its own regulations. So that is benchmarking. So we can compare, of course, hazards of automotive sector or sector of digital industries. However, it will be different, of course. In the measurement and in the assessment, they will have differences. Technology. So using technology here is an advantage, like putting some cameras to monitoring what's going on, or even putting some it is analyzing technological machines, sensors, so that sensors for fire, sensors for some chemicals, or even sensors for noise. So it depends. So technology here is moving one step forward the team by collecting data. Even no one will report it, no employer will report it. There will be something happening, but they won't report it, not to go under any responsibility that can happen, Ali. So what will then? The sensors will take action. So the system, the interconnected system of the structure will say, okay, there is something going wrong. And then this is a very important emergency issue. There will be an explosion in a couple of hours, maybe. So the technological system will show alert the team so that it can be sorted out in an emergency issue. Even the employees are not aware about that. So, as a result, these sources of information play a crucial role in identifying hazards, assessing the risks within the workplace. By utilizing a combination of these sources, organizations can develop a comprehensive risk assessment process and implement effective control measures to mitigate workplace hazards. So there are two steps. One is the preparation of the regulations, putting them on board. Second, it is sorting them out before hazard. So before a hazard happens, normally the health and safety safeguarding team needs to be aware, because of all these regulations and critic assessments, the team will avoid the hazard. That's the main concern in this subject that we are talking. So even the hazards happen, it has already happened. So then there needs to be sort out to do some clarifications, to go ahead and then sort it out. However, the main issue is to prevent it to come on board. So the hazards need to be prevented to come on board. That's the point. So therefore, it is really critical and important, and it needs high expertise, high professionalization, and of course, technology is here a supporting tool. So certainly, in the techniques used to identify hazards, considering both internal and external information. So source is data, and we are working with data. So when the source is collected, so we can manage it. So when we are not collecting the source, we cannot manage it. So data is an asset. It is an asset, a very powerful asset. So there are regulations now. What kind of regulations are we are talking about? It's external regulations like governmental agencies put some regulations, guidelines, standards for occupational health and safety. This is country-based, but of course there are standards, global standards, so that these global standards are taken by governments, and governments are using them internally and implementing them in their region. So, of course, this is changing, and when it is changing for the well-being and the increase of well-being, so it needs to be taken by the governments as well. So there is an European Safety Agency, ESA. So the ESA provides information on safety-related research, initiatives, and best practice across Europe. So there are best practice examples, even there are real examples. So, and the European Safety Agency is sharing it, it's opening it, so we can talk about it, and we can open it up at the end and talk about it. So it provides the information, examples, best practices. So it offers reports, publications, and databases containing data on workplaces, the hazards and safety measures. So when we go inside and enter ESA, we will find what you asked later in the previous topics. We can search for some reports and publications as well. So one of the important organizations globally is the International Labour Organization. Have you heard about that, Ali?
Yes, definitely. I believe the one of my assignments was about legal laws and regulations, so it was heavily about that thing. So
Yeah,
yes,
it's ILO. It's ILO. So
I
ILO
know.
has offices in every country, you know? It's an international organization. It's the International Labour Organization. It has offices in every country, and there are lots of staff. They are working on the regulations on country basis, but they are an umbrella organization over all the governments. So governments are members of the International Labour Organization, like the UN, United Nations. So ILO offers global standards and recommendations on occupational safety and health. It is assessing workplaces, and it is also going for some reports. It gets reports from governments, from locals, and then it is going and making assessments with its experts, working on the ground, talking with people and understanding, and then after preparing reports. ILO makes that. And then ILO is then branding country reports yearly. So it conducts research, produces publications, and organizes conferences to address workplace hazards and promote safe working conditions worldwide. It is human. In ILO, it is employee priority, what they are working about. We also talked about the World Health Organization. It is it provides information about the World Health, like we have just learned. It has dealt with the COVID regulations, as you know. It has the power to let globally some kind of issues. It gives advices and it provides information about occupational health risks and then the impact on public health. It offers, again, it prepares reports and then research. It make announcements of hazard, or even it announce various occupational hazards as well. It also, the World Health Organization shows what kind of chemical hazards can cause what kind of damages or hazards as well. So when we go enter the World Health Organization webpage, we can find lots of information from hazards and from different kind of health issues globally and on local scale, and lots of reporting. And they are all new. It means updated. So there are professional and trade bodies as well, both in locally or internationally. So professional associations and trade bodies in specific industries often publish reports. It can be a trade union, such as, or it can be a woman business organization, or it can be a mining business organization. So they publish reports, articles, guidelines on industry-specific hazards and best practices. Participating in industry conferences and workshops organized by these bodies provide opportunities to exchange information and learn from peers. So every kind of institution which is non-profit, means it is not depending on profits, incomes, is preparing reports and collecting data according to the sector which is it working for. These reports, data is so important. You know that because of your assignments. So, internal information resource, damage, injury, and sickness data. So, near-miss information, what does it mean? Near-miss reporting systems encourage employees to report incidents that almost resulted in harms. Reviewing near-miss reports shows the potential hazards before they escalate into accidents. So there is something wrong, and it needs to be reported. You are asking for the report from that department, and they are writing the report. So then you get an external expert, and then you are talking about it, and then making an assessment, and you understand, the team is understanding that, okay, a hazard can come very soon when we are not sorting this out. This is the kind of report and information. So the worker, the employer, cannot be aware about that because they are working. They maybe understand there is something wrong, but maybe they will be not as experienced as the expertise which is coming and supporting them. Maintenance records. Maintenance records document equipment inspection, repairs, and modification. This is also something. So this is important in big buildings, in big industrial zones, where, or even in small structures, anything can happen. So the highlight potential equipment related hazards and maintenance issues that could compromise safety. So, and we need to understand the techniques, how to identify hazards. So, of course, we need to inspect the workplace. So it has been, of course, built up, but after it has been built up, before starting, it needs to be inspected. And after, there needs to be regular working through inspections. And visually, and data collection, maybe by recording. So recording the machinery and seeing the storages and recording and making on-site visits and analysis is really important. So job safety analysis, GCA. So job safety analysis needs to be a systemic analysis. So it is a task to identify potential hazards associated with each step. So whenever it is a regular issue to work as an employee in a machinery chain, it is really, really important to build up the job safety analysis. So in emerging countries, it is crucial to do and to start it even. So it needs observation, consultation with workers, review of procedures, how to use the machinery step by step. Hazard mapping. So mapping can be done in any kind of sector with data. So it is important to get the data and then put it on a map, digital map. So hazard mapping is visual representation of workplace hazards using maps, diagrams, or floor plans. So it can be a ship and it can be a cruise, you know, Ali, a cruise which is having about 1,000, 2,000 guests once. So there needs to be lots of hazard mapping step by step. Think about the Titanic, which was in the 1950 or 1910, I'm not sure. I don't remember it, but it is something like that. So it is with mapping, we make it easier. We can open up and see where hazards used to happen and where they can happen again and again. So identifying spatial relationship between hazards and potential exposure patterns. So there need to be checklists, standardized checklists covering common workplace hazards and safety practices. Facilitate systematic hazard identification during inspection and audits. So brainstorming sessions. There needs to be, of course, a collaborative session involving employees, different experts, the different department representatives to generate ideas and identify potential hazards and talk about them, encourage all the actors taking place, and then sharing the knowledge, the know-how to understand the potential hazards as well. So in this part, we need to integrate techniques utilizing both internal and external information source. So information is one of the most powerful force that is showing us how to see if a hazard is coming up. So organizations can effectively identify hazards and assess risks to ensure a safe and healthy work environment. Therefore, they need to work before starting the organization and putting the employees in it. That's really important. And this needs to be a sustainable structuring and management. So how to implement a risk assessment system and how to evaluate it. So risk assessment systems involve lots of key steps, including observation, tasks, analysis, failure tracing. So there might be a failure and it needs to be traced. Engagement of employees. So without the employees, it is not possible to get out the real structure. So let's see how to implement a system and evaluate the risk effectively. First, the objectives need to be clear, as well as the scope. So the team needs to define the purpose and scope of the assessment, risk assessment. So why do we prepare a risk assessment? Why do we need it? We need to believe in it, and also our employees, the workforce, also needs to believe in it. Otherwise, how will it work? So we need to include the type of hazards to be assessed, the level of details required, and the intended outcomes. So it needs a discipline. It needs a discipline to work out. To set clear objectives, such as reducing a workplace accident, complying with regulatory requirements, or improving safety culture. It can be a swimming pool. So there needs to be lots of health and safety hazard types, such as it can be slippery, it is deep, so people, the swimmers, maybe the children don't know swimming, or adults. So there needs to be lots of regulation, precautions. So the objectives need to be clear, but according to the structure of the business. So this will reduce the accidents in the workplace and hazards as well. Identifying and engaging stakeholders. So what do we understand with stakeholders? Stakeholders are the ones which are somehow participating in the structure. So it can be an employee organization, it can be another partner business model, or it can be another structure. So involve employees at all levels of the organization, including frontline workers, supervisors, and management in the risk assessment process. So everybody in every kind of employee, worker in the business model needs to take participatory action and responsibility. So the one is also the stakeholder. So active participation needs to be encouraged in the trainings, in the preparation period, and in the regulatory work attitudes. So feedbacks, taking the feedbacks from the stakeholders gets much more understanding of the workplace hazards. So it is a cooperation and an interconnected type of structure that we are talking about. So there are lots of risk assessment methods, but every method has its own structure strategy. So choose a suitable risk assessment method according related best and fits best into the organizational requirements. So as I talked, it can be a swimming pool, it can be a sport hall, it can be a research institution, it can be a school, very simple, or a hospital even. It can be a hospital. So any kind of structure needs to make risk assessment strategy. So that's the point. So common methods include job safety analysis, hazard identification and risk assessment, hazard and operability studies, failure mode and effects analysis. So there needs to be these kind of headlines. So collecting the data from various resources, incident reports, near miss reports, maintenance records, employee feedbacks, and of course the data which is collected from the technological tools like recordings is also very important for the management and design of the risk assessment strategy. How to conduct a risk assessment? Systematically, there needs to be recordings and assessments to identify hazards by evaluating some potential consequences. So it is to use qualitative and quantitative risk analysis method. So it means to record the energy or even to record the noise level. There are lots variety of, or even record the heat, 24 hours, the change of the heat or change of the air nitrogen concentration. We can mention a lot of things. So prioritize risks and develop control measures. So of course, it depends on the business model or even the structure. Prioritize risk based on their severity, likelihood, potential impact on workers and organizations. Develop and implement control measures to mitigate identified hazards, considering the hierarchy of controls, elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, and personal protective equipment. So I can give an example about, there were lots of hazards, emergency issues among doctors in Turkey because the patients, when they were angry, they just went on and made a hazard on doctors. So for this, there needs to be making a risk analysis and then a risk assessment and build a risk strategy management. So why is it coming up and how can we prevent it? So what kind of stuff needs to be next to the doctor and what kind of regulations can prevent this kind of hazards happening is another thing, of course. So evaluating the risks. So risk is something, it has not happened, but it might possible happening. Therefore, we need to use observations. We need to make observations, analyze the tasks, and of course, we need to get the point where have we made a failure. So we need to go ahead the failure and trace the failure. That's the point. So employee observation techniques to identify hazards in real time by directly observing them during their work processes. Equipment operation and employee behaviors. Here it is important to understand what was happening during the working conditions when an employee was doing something. Like what was happening when a doctor was asking a patient, what is wrong with you? And suddenly the patient was angry about it, blah, blah, blah. So what was there happening? So there needs to be some recordings, or even there needs to be a second person or a third person who can make a reporting possible. So the tasks need to be analyzed, and the jobs, task, individual steps, and the identifying the hazards associated with each step needs to be gone back and analyzed. And the failure tracing method can be done in that path. So hazards and operational studies need systematically recorded and analyzed, examined, so that the failure will not happen again. We are all human, and we are working as human beings. That's the point. We are not robots. Of course, when robots are there or engines, machines are there, they will also make failures, of course. But the thing is, we need to make some observatory tools possible and see what is going on, what is happening. For these all recording and reporting, we need to engage the employees. Without the support of employees, we can't handle it out. We can put everywhere recording technologies. However, when the working force, the employees, are not technically capable of recording, not technically capable and trained about hazards and risks, it will increase the failures. They can't say, we don't want the training, we don't want to get the trainings, and we don't want to take responsibilities about the risks and of hazards to manage it up. No, they need to do. If they are working there, they need to obey and do the risk assessment and need to do reporting. That's crucial. So engagement, collaboration, communication, and to show that this is for their well-being. This is, yes, of course, this is also for the better processing and, of course, for a better service. However, this is first the priority, the well-being of the employees, so that they need to be there and they need to show responsibility. They need to be aware about that. So, of course, the team needs regularly review and update. Even the employees or the structure of the risk assessment and management. So there needs to be a regularly review and update. So there needs to be lesson learned from incidents, near misses, and safety improvements into the risk assessment. So there needs to be lesson learned from any kind of hazards, any kind of. At the end of this part, we need to know that by implementing a comprehensive risk assessment, it is not one person who is doing that, who is preparing that. It's a system. So employees are the stakeholders. They need to actively involve and participate in the process, as well as the leaders, managers, even the consultancy expertise. So if to understand and prevent hazards. However, if hazards happen, to cope with the hazards in an emergency procedure is important to ensure the health and safety, well-being of the working environment. That's really important. So how to measure and monitor? So we are measuring and monitoring reporting hazards. So this is a feedback mechanism. When we are talking about it, we, of course, we need to measure it. So how do we measure it? By quantitative measurement instruments like noise, measuring the noise level, air quality, or radiation level. So this is a quantitative measurement. What do we mean with qualitative measurement? So conduct assessment about quality. So to go to the community and ask, what do you think about this noise? And do you like it? Do you hate it? Or is it making something to you? Such as, so observations are important to make qualitative assessments, to make some surveys, checklists, expert judgments. This is also an important way and tool to measure qualitative make qualitative assessment. Of course, benchmarking and comparison. There are lots of different kind of hazard assessments that have been so far for many years. So they can be read and then compared, and maybe they can be taken as benchmark comparisons. Monitoring. How do we monitor them? Regular inspections, conduct routine inspections in workplaces, monitor hazards. Physical inspections of equipment is really important, machinery, work areas, and processes. Environmental monitoring is one of it. So, such as air quality, temperature, humidity, or chemical exposure levels, radioactivity. So therefore, for radioactive measurement or air quality, we need some technological tool. And of course, monitor the well-being, health conditions, mental conditions of employees. This is also a kind of to detect the illnesses, even the absentees of employees. And then, of course, reporting them. There needs to be a regular reporting procedure that will be shared in the training, and then it will be reported. How to report it to one of the managers, or even directly to the hazard inspector or staff which is dealing with. Encourage open communication, and for emergency, encourage the employees directly to contact the well-being officer or health and safety officer. Of course, documentation and investigation is important. After all them, it needs to be reported, written in detail by expertise, by open questions, and by closed questions as well. And share this information with stakeholders, with expertise, to find solution and to plan the risk assessment again and update it. Because after these updates, there needs to be renewing some kind of things. So this is a kind of follow-up that we are conducting. So regular review and follow-up action empower risk assessments. And it is also ensuring the time to manage it well. So, and it is also ensuring to cope with the hazards before they happen. So measuring, monitoring, and reporting hazards in organizations can proactively identify and address risks to ensure safe and healthy work environment for all employees and also the business model. So recording is another thing. Meet regularly and statutory requirements. So it is important to maintain accurate records for risk assessment. Making regularly meetings, they need to be always on board, and then make the open explanation effectively to exchange the knowledge and the current situation on board. So it is record key details, document the data of the risk assessment, identifying hazards, clearly identify and describe the hazard is an open, very important assessment model, nature, location, potential consequences, and how it has affected the professional employees. And then, of course, assess risks. Are there risks anymore? Will they be, have they been overcome, or is there still a risk? Documentation is another thing. All the hazards which we identified need to be documented in detail, and they need to be stored in the institution as well. So follow-up actions are again meeting, maintenance, additional trainings need to be done as always.
Okay, I'll have to stop you here because I just today I can do only 1 hour.
1 hour. Okay, Ali. So we almost have finished. We will. We have how we are keeping the records and compliance with regulations. Of course, we talked about training employees, as you know, and so let's. There are, of course, we also talked about analysis and improvement at the start. I think we almost finished. So, any question so far?
No, but I think it's good. Thank you. But maybe
I
I would
will
like to have
send
more
you, I
information.
will share an assessment report so that it is an example. It is also in the ESA. So I will share it with you so that you can see it. Okay. Can you give me your email, please?
You cannot see my email through this call, or you can?